and I worked with energy healers in 2 weeks. Energy healers, my friends did intention circles. I have an intention circle group. I did that. I meditated every day. I, visualized a good outcome, and I got through the surgery so much that when I had my follow up with a neurosurgeon who does 420 surgeries of these a year, my tumor was quite big, so it was difficult, right?
Yeah.
He was worried he was going
Transfer.
to.
Hey there, welcome to the Recharge Biomedical Podcast. I'm Dr. Edward Park, and if you're curious about regenerative medicine, you've come to the right place. We're diving into the latest breakthroughs in telomerase activation, stem cell exosomes, and all the cutting-edge science that's shaping the future of healing and longevity. Let's get started.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Recharge Biomedical Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Edward Park, and today we're very fortunate to be greeted and joined by Dr. Christine Schaffner.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is such a delight to be on your podcast.
Yes, my delight. I mean, we just ended you interviewing me, and now I'm going to interview you, and I think that's only fair.
I love that.
So let's talk about your journey. You're a naturopathic doctor. For those that don't know, naturopathy is sort of focused on nature, which is nice, instead of allopathy, which is kind of a derogatory term for us going to medical school and taking tests and learning about how to best prescribe drugs for diseases. So you guys have a focus. How would you describe it to the layperson who knows nothing?
Yeah, I think fundamentally the difference is in naturopathic medicine, we start with this idea that the body is wise, intelligent, and designed to heal. And we're looking at nature to look at really not only modalities or treatments or different cycles or rhythms that nature communicates and shares with us to learn more about how we are designed to heal. And I also not only studied naturopathic medicine, I studied what we call bioregulatory medicine that came out of Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. And it's really a culmination of Eastern and Western traditions. But I like how they go a step further, and not only the regulatory ability, but they also identify these things called interference fields in the body, in the physical body, like scars, focal infections, and how they can actually be interferences in your autonomic nervous system or your fascia's ability to communicate and heal.
Isn't that interesting? Now,
Yeah.
so this is a different, more organic approach. If I was to sum up the field of medicine or medical school medicine, and that includes DOs as well, our focus, is, I guess I would state it like this. Rockefeller founded all these med schools, all this accreditation, it was a petroleum-based economy and whatnot. And we're told to memorize that there are these rare diseases that we have to look for, but that everything else is just a normal part of getting old. Like the human body is a machine, and because of whatever reason, the machine will always get worse. So once you get a disease, you've got the disease, let us manage it with drugs. And if the drugs give you complications, let us give you more drugs. And this, in the grand scheme of things, even though we don't step back and look at it, is not really serving our patients that well. So if you're in practice for 13, 14 years, you're looking around, you're saying, why aren't my patients getting better? Is because we're in the process of disease management. We're not looking at root causes. That would be bad for business. Like if there was a way to cure cancer without giving, $600,000 worth of chemo, why would we do that? It seems idiotic. So I think for-profit medicine is and I think that was an unintended good side of COVID, as people became skeptical of biomedicine in general. So, but you've not only gone into naturopathy, which of course is a mastery of food as medicine at one aspect, but now you're alluding to the fact that the body keeps score, the body has memory, and that there are systems. And now we were talking before about tech coming online where people can measure these things. So I want people to know that you have a summit coming up that you're co-hosting, and it's called the Quantum Coherence Medicine Masterclass, April 6th through 9th. You have 21 experts, and it's something that they can register for free at drcatherineclinton.com.
Yes.
And so, this is stuff that I am only scratching the surface on. I'm super skeptical, but as we said, I'm open-minded.
Yeah.
So for example, if anybody's ever heard these terms, like you mentioned, fascial release.
Yes.
The fourth phase of water structuring, mitochondria, heart math coherence, energy systems, just the inherent intelligence of the biofield, how to look at it, how to analyze it. There's a lot of tech coming from the future that people can access. And I find, at least in the last 2 years, the people with wearable tech, the people doing their due diligence, it never stops. Like they really know much more than me as a doctor. And it's amazing the kind of innovation in the tech space that is coming, and they're giving us data that we don't even know how to interpret. So what's your feeling on that? If I'm interested in learning about this stuff, I'm not super gullible. I don't want to have a lot of money, but I want to understand, how will this conference help me?
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. And so my good friend is Dr. Catherine Clinton. We're both naturopathic doctors, and Catherine has really, brought a lot of attention to what we call quantum biology. So looking at biological systems from a quantum lens. So that could be in the plant systems, photosynthesis, and then also looking at mitochondria like proton tunneling and things of that nature, looking at the structure of water and how that creates flow states in the body and so forth. So she brought a lot of attention to that. And I've always been kind of this, I love the bridge of science and spirituality. And I think that we have so much to learn. I don't pretend to be an expert. I just am a curious practitioner that I want to see my patients get better faster, and in a more accelerated, elegant way. We're not so guessing so much, and we really understand these parts of our body that we're still learning, like this idea of how we are connected to the quantum field, how we communicate with biophotons, how we have communication and sound through sound or phonons in our body, how we are electromagnetic beings, how we have a measurable toroidal field that we emit, and what is that about, and how do we understand that? Is that creating health or disease in our body? So we were very much diligent about not only interviewing clinicians, so people on the front lines of these modern illnesses that are getting really hard to look at, from they're so complex, there's so many systems, so many root causes, and how do we walk that person through this process with knowing not everyone has the same experience, right? There's no
Yeah.
cookbook medicine. And then we were also wanting to really talk to the scientists. I had some great conversations with biophysicists and scientists to understand where they are at. And there's so much to be learned still, but I think I really believe in what we call this future of medicine. I love
Yeah.
Buckminster Fuller's quote, like, let's not just keep like polarizing each other, but like, how do we like emerge and create a new system? There's
Right.
truth in the medical field. You have great training, but the wrong modality to apply unless it's in trauma, right? How do we learn from naturopathy and bioregulatory medicine and quantum biology and this emerging field of how we are truly like electromagnetic, biophotonic, biophononic beings living in this,
I
vast
think it's
sea of information?
I think it's undeniable, and so at this conference they were giving out free books. Well, they're complimentary, they're
Oh
really
yeah.
not free.
Yeah.
So this is a book about electromagnetic. So
Yes.
we're going to interview him,
Great.
but I think it's undeniable. You're talking about the toroidal field. A month and a
Yeah.
half ago, I went to this conscious festival, and everyone was putting up the picture of the toroidal field.
Yeah.
For those people that don't know, everything in the universe, from the tiny subatomic level to our aura, if you will,
Yeah.
because it's a literal aura of energy that is shaped like a donut.
Yes.
So I think that what you're alluding to is that we are electric,
Mhm.
and that sound also is within us. And so, sure, why not? Structured water, it must have an impact. But I think that as a, trained scientist or whatever, we have to be very open minded, but yet skeptical. So
Yeah.
the premise of what you're describing is quite sound, that, sound and light and energy and electricity are part of us. But again, we have to live our lives. We have to parse. We can't live in Belize or, outside of the electrosmog.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that people can kind of acquire the wisdom and just the belief, the core belief, which is not my belief from biomedicine, but my belief from living, is that the body tries to heal.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people that used to have diabetes. I used to have fatty liver. So
Yeah.
I think that in some way, what we experience as, micro trauma or fractal victim stories, like they kind of impair our natural healing ability. That's not to say we're all going to live to 120,
Right.
but there are certain ways you can access your current state and perhaps modulate it. And now I see my patients, who are more open minded. They're like, red light this and, PEMF that, and at home, they have ways of quantifying their neuro health that
Yeah.
I never even heard of yet. And it's just
Yeah.
more and more information.
Yeah.
So the people who attend your conference, this 3-day conference, they're going to learn about what? Like how to.
They're going to learn, like, if you have a chronic illness out there, you might have a different approach or different, information to either seek another doctor or ask your doctor about. If you're a clinician, you might be inspired by different conversations from, other clinicians or scientists or people that really are on the front line, developing and asking the deeper questions. Why does, one person respond to this and another person respond to that, understanding the depth of who we are. And I want to make a comment. I really do think, like, we're not going to live in utopia here on earth. We at this time are not. You live in LA, I live in Seattle. Have a 5G city. You have probably 5G times 100 city, and I do think that the answers lie in these concepts if we can really hone them in and really get a clear explanation and begin to measure them more, in clinical practice. That when we're in states of coherence, the strength of our electromagnetic energy is more synchronized. We're more entrained. We're delivering coherent information to our cells, our mitochondria, our even DNA. Maybe our epigenetic translation shifts for that moment, and we build on more health, even in the soup of electrosmog and toxicity. How can we work with the energy of life to maybe shift those chemical states? And
We age because our telomeres shorten and our stem cells deplete. But what if we could support both? I've been taking TA65 for 17 years. It's the only supplement I trust to support better mood, better sleep, and exercise recovery. And at age 57, I don't have any gray hair and I don't need reading glasses. TA65 is available now. Go to rechargebiomedical.com/TA-65 and enter promo code RECHARGE10 to save 10% off.
I think that's so important that people
Yeah.
focus on the abundance,
yeah,
because once you get in your head, in your reptilian brain, and it fires your amygdala, it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
have electrosmog. Oh, I
Yeah.
have
there's
high
too much
fructose corn
fear.
syrup. I have red dye number 30. You're like afraid. And that's part of the game too, because I think there are a lot of entry points into making us freaked out about the toxicity of the world.
Yeah.
So, but I think that the fundamental truth is that we're so resilient. Like we
Yes.
really
Yeah.
have so much more capacity to heal and maintain homeostasis. So
Yeah.
I think hopefully people can take that core message as well.
Yeah, that's
But
a really big
yeah,
part of it. In bioregulatory medicine, we talk a lot about terrain medicine. And I'm just, expanding upon it, that it's not just our physical body, and what we can measure through chemistry, but there's also this whole other piece that we can measure. Brilliant people are looking at these properties of the body. There's a guy at UCLA measuring, the sound of cells, right? There's also people, studying in depth the water within us. There's the whole electromagnetic nature of our heart that modern medicine, measures the electrical activity in the brain. I think it's just really, again, putting this together and getting more eyes on these conversations, getting the PhDs to talk to the clinicians and the, kind of fringe scientists to get more into these conversations. Because
no, I think it's going to accelerate. Like I just bought this ring. It's not an Oro, it's a Galaxy 24 hours ago. And it's saying how stressed you are out.
yeah,
And it's pretty good at reading how stressed I am. And so we talked about the fact I used to deliver babies and put a scalp monitor on and say what the variability in the heart rate is. But yeah, the way that we can understand things is that we are a system of electrical cells. There's little mitochondria, little bacteria living in our cells, creating electricity, and they're working in tissues and organ systems and as a field. And that, yeah, sometimes, you walk through the TSA scanner and maybe it's resetting your field. Maybe it's
Yeah.
good or bad, like radiation hormesis. But
yeah,
I just, the tendency for people to have is cognitive dissonance,
Yeah.
right? So they're just like, I'm just going to go into my little fear and be like, I don't want to understand anything. There's nothing I
Yeah.
can do, learn helplessness. And I think that's such a disservice. So with the Quantum Coherence Medicine Masterclass, April 6th through 9th, people are going to be able to open their minds and tap the resources and learn more. Because I'll be honest with you, at this point, your doctor is 10, 15 years behind in all this stuff. Like
yeah,
ask them what red light is, and they'll be like, I don't know. Is that the sign to stop your car? Like they don't know.
yeah,
So whether some of it is true, half true, pseudoscience, or BS, we don't know. But
yeah,
somebody has to figure this stuff out. And I think the most interesting voices are the ones that don't rely on scientific method, the ones who maybe rely on Vedic traditions or channeling some kind of spirit. It's like there's a lot of wisdom there about how we function within the unified field, you know, and that there's a lot they can teach us about being human. It doesn't just date back to the 1910s, like it dates back thousands of years.
Yeah, and I think it's, more an optimistic conversation and, all of this, post-COVID illness and, again, the emerging toxicity. And we could go on and on about what's going wrong. But, have we really ever been explained how our bodies work on this level? And
Yeah.
how have we really put focus and intention in a scientific method clinically? We really haven't. And that not much.
Yeah.
I know there's
Yeah,
people
yeah.
like,
No, and I think it's so great that you teach your 6-year-old how she breathes and how to
yeah,
sleep.
yeah,
I mean, why isn't this in our schools?
yeah,
I would argue that schools are a method of inculcating, submissiveness and lack of critical thinking. And
yeah.
certainly they don't teach you how to take naps or understand when you need to rest or what foods are good and why.
Yeah.
So that's why I also wrote this book, if you'll forgive the plug,
Oh,
for
yeah.
Hay House.
Oh, cool.
And
Oh,
I talk about the 6 cylinders. Like, you don't have to buy anything. The book is like $9, but it
yeah.
teaches you about sleep architecture.
Oh, cool.
I mean, stuff that I've already forgotten, but like
Yeah.
consciousness, your thoughts, diet, exercise,
Yeah.
supplements.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that could benefit just from, a third grade class on why binging high fructose corn syrup is not good for you 60
Yeah.
years later.
Yeah.
So thank you for having that wisdom. I wish the schools were more into that,
Yeah.
teaching kids how to box breathe or meditate. How great would that be? Wouldn't have all these dysregulated robots going through
Yeah.
the world.
I meditate every morning, and my daughter
Oh,
will, wake up at different times, and she knows I'm meditating. She'll sometimes, do the hands. Not that I do that when I'm meditating, but we lead by example too, right?
yeah,
So she
sure.
understands that I have my red light on and I'm meditating and I have my crystals all around me. Not that that is, I love it because of the beauty, right,
Right.
around me. But I also think that meditation, because a lot of these biohacking tools are, pricey and not everybody can, basically afford them at this point in time. And I love the thought that we're the, best, biohacks within ourselves. If you've really learned how to synchronize your heart to your brain, if you really learn how to breathe, if you really learn how to just take, 5 minutes a day, hopefully more, to, see where you are and find stillness and maybe breathe in some life or energy into what you want to create and not just what you're reacting to. I see that in the health space. I mean, I've
I
gone
love
through
that.
my own journey. I've seen people have horrific, medical stories that, get out of them. And I just think that's probably the best kept secret in our medical field, that how powerful we
Absolutely.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but we had talked, I don't know how comfortable you are sharing, but you had
Yeah. I'm totally
something.
comfortable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, you're interoception, you were raising a kid, things were going on, and then come to find out the reason you couldn't see well out in the temporal area
Yeah.
and the reason why your facial structure was morphing was
Yeah.
you had a 3.2 centimeter
Mhm.
uh, growth hormone,
Yeah.
pituitary hormone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, talk about that. Like,
Yeah, it was a very life-changing event for me. As you can imagine, I'd gone through some stressful stuff. My daughter was still quite young, and we wanted to have another baby, and I wasn't getting pregnant. And my husband kind of nudged me, and he was like, "Christine, we're not getting any younger. Like, let's go check this out." And doctors are the worst patients, so I dragged my feet, and I finally got an MRI. And there was a moment where times froze. I knew that this was probably bigger than I realized at the time. I thought
that's big. That's
yeah,
big. 3.2 is the biggest I've heard of. That's a big tumor.
it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I had a prolactinoma or something like that. But, here I am, somebody who at the time was teaching a lot about brain detoxification, the lymphatic system, and sleep. And I have a big tumor in the middle of it, you
It's
know.
ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wild. But, I was already doing a lot of meditation. I was already learning a lot from Dr. Joe Dispenza before I had the tumor. And through the stress in my life, and I only had 2 weeks to prepare for the surgery. So no supplement, no physical thing was going to help me have a good outcome. And I felt my fear and my terror. You have to feel those feelings because they're real. But I had a moment where I knew that I had to decide what the outcome I wanted this to be. Was this going to be something
Yeah.
that broke me and that I was afraid for life, or was this going to be something that really, allowed me to see the potential of the topics that I'm talking about. And I worked with energy healers in 2 weeks. Energy healers, my friends did intention circles. I have an intention circle group. I did that. I meditated every day. I, visualized a good outcome, and I got through the surgery so much that when I had my follow up with a neurosurgeon who does 420 surgeries of these a year, my tumor was quite big, so it was difficult, right?
Yeah.
He was worried it was going to.
Transsphenoidal. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he went through and thank God people study this, right? This is where conventional medicine shines, right? Um, and it was a big tumor, and so I donated it. And I asked about the path report, and he said, he kind of fumbled. He's like, you know what, actually, I'm going to be studying this tumor for a long time. And I said, why? And he goes, most of all, I want to understand why your tumor came out so easily compared to all the other tumors I see. And
Oh, that's
I believe the realm that, like, the experience I had, the level of energy, whatever we call that, all.
no. I think it's legit. It sounds
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
magical, but that's what quantum is, right?
Well,
So quantum is a literal thing. It means a quantum state of energy changes,
Yeah.
but it also alludes to these non-Newtonian or non
Yeah.
like magical action at a distance, like observation changes things.
Yeah.
Everything is in an indeterminate state, superimposition. It's basically a placeholder for magic. So
Yeah.
maybe in some way you and your friends were able to create that thing
yeah.
saying, thank you, my 3.2 centimeter tumor.
Yeah.
I'm ready to let you go. So it was well encapsulated and it was ready to be birthed out,
We were
you know?
we focused on it being really easy to come out. That
Yeah.
was kind of one of the things. And so, and there's so many variables, of course, but I think, we don't always know why we go through things on this human plane. There's a lot of great people who have a bad, like they have a lot of bad circumstances. We don't quite understand that from our human lens. But I think the gift in these concepts are, you can support that person to decide how they want to move through that circumstance. And
Well, isn't that the great work, really? Like they used to talk about it in alchemy. Like alchemy is turning lead into gold. What's
Yeah.
dragging you down into something eternal, a gift
Yeah.
for mankind, right?
Yeah.
So the guy on stage was saying, oh, my house burned down. I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. I lost a bunch of weight. And he kept on asking himself, like, where's the gift? And some voice in his head was saying, you idiot, you have cancer. What gift? But then the other Fred Flintstone on his shoulder was like, no, it's this. We're going to bring AI powered medical diagnostics. And this is like your new pivot.
yeah.
So I think there always is a gift. But if your intention is to stay in victim consciousness and
Yeah.
be disempowered, then that can have equally powerful effects, right?
Yeah. And there was a lot of reasons I could have been in victim consciousness, especially with what was going on in that time. And so I feel like sometimes, especially when we have these doctor hats on, our life experiences help us to, kind of allow, us
Yeah.
to share.
It allows us to go deeper. We're
Yeah.
wounded healers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Creates
So,
more empathy.
yeah.
I mean, I tell you what, I talked to a lot of people. I had a patient last week who was very wealthy. And, the most interesting thing was she started having nightmares after exosomes. Bear with me. I know this from the TA65 that I've taken and used and given to people for 17 years. In the first 2 weeks of use, a lot of times people have nightmares. So I explained to her as a non-expert in anything that, in my opinion, nightmares, the purpose of procedural dreaming, REM sleep, is to tell stories.
Yeah.
And in the stories, if you have some kind of internal conflict, whether it be trauma, scarcity, fear, then that's going to bubble up. But I found that if people stay with it for 2 weeks, then eventually they flip the story. They get to the third act where they're the hero.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have unresolved conflict, whether it be from a past life, which may be real,
Yeah.
childhood trauma, current circumstances, ego circumstances, like it always shows up. You can't run away from yourself.
Yeah.
So in the process of deconstructing that and writing new stories, people get nightmares.
Yeah.
Even I've met a lot of wealthy people. I know my problems. I would never trade my problems with someone else's problems. Like the more you know about people, rich, poor, whatever, beautiful, not beautiful,
Yeah.
it's like you have your problems for a reason. You're here to transcend them. And it's a blessed life. But to get to that space, it's not always easy. I mean, we started the phone call. I was in pain from my whiplash, and now it's getting better. So I think you are sharing your quantum energy with me.
Well, no, I'm happy to help, but
Yeah.
no, I'm excited. We did our best, and we're gonna have way more conversations like this. And I just hope that
So great.
we
You're doing
inspire
such a great thing.
people
Yeah.
to
So let me just
think.
play it one more time. Quantum Coherence Medicine Masterclass is just the introduction.
Yeah.
But man, you're going to learn so much from these great experts. So if you're ready to take a quantum leap in your health and healing yourself, then go there. You can search that, or you can go to drcatherineclinton.com, who is co-sponsoring it with you, right?
Yes. Yeah, we did it together. So
Super.
yeah, thank
All
you
right,
so much.
fantastic. I'll be there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
can't wait to hear about it. Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Recharge Biomedical Podcast. If today's episode got you thinking, you'll love my book, Exosomes Songs of Healing. It's packed with cool analogies, full color illustrations, and all the science you'll need to understand how exosomes are changing the game in aging and regenerative medicine. You can grab it in paperback, ebook, or audiobook, whatever works for you. Now head over to www.rechargebiomedical.com to check it out. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you next time.